unscathed, and that's good. Today we're taking a slightly different direction. We're going to talk to a couple of Jacksonville book authors. One talks about politics and government. Another talks about history and specializes in working with children. So we're excited. And so segment number one, we're delighted to have with us my old friend Paul McCormick of the McCormick Agency. Paul, good to see you. Welcome to People and Politics.
Glad to be here. Thanks.
And
it's been a long
here's
time.
the deal. We're not going to be like those talking heads on CNN and Fox when everyone talks at once. We're going to talk separately. Those are the rules, right?
Yes.
Excellent. And Dr. John Rossi, good to see you.
Thank you very much.
And
nice to meet you.
Doctor, you are not only an author, but you're also a veterinarian by trade. And thanks for the advice on my cat, Hemi.
Okay, no problem.
And he's a good vet, I can tell you that. At least I'll know when I get home and apply all the things he taught me. Your book, The Freedom Fairy Tale, I'm holding a copy up now. There we go. Is something that, without exaggeration, I can say came from a dream that you had. And your little 14-year-old daughter, or 13-year-old daughter at the time, Rose. So kind of work us into how you decided to do this.
Well, one night my daughter did ask me, Dad, why is there so much fighting going on? And, on the radio and TV, and
And at City Hall, by the way.
And at City Hall, yeah.
Okay.
And I couldn't really explain to her everything, so fell asleep and had this crazy dream. Jumped out of bed, it was about 4 in the morning, jotted it down, read it to her the following morning. She loved it. She thought, wow, this is pretty cool. It gives me a lot of answers. And I kind of understand a lot better now what the factions are in this big fight. And from there, typed it up, gave copies to relatives and friends. Most of them thought it was great. Ended up in the hands of Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck calls me one day and says, I think this is fantastic. I'd like permission to read it on the radio. I said, sure. I said, I'm getting it published as a children's book, but go ahead. He read it, and then I had hundreds of phone calls. People calling me up saying, wow, there's something great here. You need to pursue this. So that's what I did. And fortunately, found some great artists and Keith Ferguson, and they made it happen.
Well, Paul, you have some reason for working with this veterinarian turned author.
Highly paid client, yeah.
Well, that's of course. Well, I knew you'd get a commercial in here. I just knew it.
Thank you.
But I let you on at my peril. But what kind of excited you about this book?
There's this national political climate we're in. There's, as you know, there's primaries that are rapidly approaching us, more rapidly than anyone anticipated as we sit here today. And the battle in America, as it is worldwide, is about who's going to be elected next. And some of the issues do deal with democracy and capitalism and free enterprise, and we're hearing a whole bunch about that. One party might think that by government providing jobs for everyone is the way to create job stimulus. Another might say free enterprise and those in business can better create jobs.
And if there isn't enough controversy and hatred and fighting out there, now we have to inject whether or not one of the candidates as a Mormon is a Christian or not. I mean, it's just when you thought things could mellow out a little bit and you could talk about the issues.
I think one of the great lines that I first read about this morning is from the not very well-known presidential candidate named Huntsman, John Huntsman, who called basically the pastor that said that an idiot. So,
hey.
So I'm on his side on that issue.
I'm on Huntsman's side too.
So this book relates to a lot of issues that are being discussed every day on both the national and the international scene, tied down to an audience that's probably a little broader into the say 11 to through high school generation, but a lot of adults also get a lot out of this too. To me, it's like a Jonathan Livingston Seagull that dates us both of the 2010 decade that we're currently in a different approach.
Well, I have to interject this. The artwork in this, I think, is really excellent. You want to give a plug to whoever did your artwork?
Well, we have to give a plug to Keith Ferguson first, because he's like super artist who brought in all this stuff and organized it, but Oscar Sen is a member of the Society of Illustrators, a fantastic artist. That's the cream of artists, and he has illustrated tons of books, done tons of Western paintings, and just a phenomenal world-renowned artist. And so Oscar Sen is the guy who did this.
And so if you had 5 minutes, which you do, to tell folks who you want your target audience to be. I mean, I know it's not just for younger people. And what the thesis of this book is, what would you share with our viewers?
Okay. The thesis is that freedom is not free, and that it's being threatened, and in our country it's being threatened from inside. The story is primarily for youngsters, but adults get a lot out of it. When they look at it, they understand immediately. Basically, it's a story of two families. One family has several children that are very good, and then they have several children that are not so good. And they ultimately end up plotting with their next door neighbors to essentially do in their parents and take over their home. It's when you realize who these parents are and who their neighbors are that you realize, and who the children are, that you realize that this is much more than just a children's book. It's a combination of philosophies and how they fit in. It will be a phenomenal tool not only for teenagers. I've had teachers tell me that this book will create days of discussion, not hours of discussion. It could be used almost for an entire course. But parents who want to teach their kids about freedom will absolutely love this book. It is a phenomenal tool, and it kind of puts everything together. Even for some adults that might be a little bit confused, that don't know how everything fits in, this might be a particularly good educating tool.
John, one of the things we've talked about previously is who are some of the characters in the book, and maybe give a quick overview of 2 or 3 of your favorite characters in this book, and who highlight some of the stories.
My favorite character is capitalism.
I hear you, mine too.
Well, Hope has to be my favorite character. She is the sole survivor, and she gives all of us a unifying theme, and she may ultimately be the beginning of future books, but she certainly is the survivor of this onslaught by the evil children, so to speak.
Now, what's the best? I noticed that you are available here in Jacksonville for speaking engagements. What's the best way to contact Dr. John Rossi? Email, telephone?
If you go to freedomfairytale.com, you can contact me through there to set up appointments for that. I mean, I've actually given a lot of lectures around the country on the care of animals, but I keep that separate from this.
One of my best friends is a specialist in animal rights. Dr. DeCoux, Elizabeth DeCoux, has been on the program before. She's at Florida Coastal School of Law, and I want to get you two together sometime.
Okay.
If I could mention quickly, the first 10,000 book run of this will be available starting next week, which is the week of October 20th. 10th, around October 20th. So on the website they'll be available, and by getting in touch with Dr. Rossi, and there'll be a lot of other public exposure events taking place in the next month or so.
And the book will be perfect bound. It's not spot. These are just proofs right here. So.
Well, it's bound or no bound. It's quite an attractive book, and it certainly is. I'm not one of those people that's generally afraid of books, because I think even if you dislike a book, you could find value in discussing it, and certainly that's what our country is all about. And I think there are definitely a lot of people who will like this book, and I'm just wondering if from the Glenn Beck show you received any other guest shots on radio or television?
Well, I've been on television just one time so far. This is very early in the stage, and I expect to be going on, hopefully, several of those programs in the near future. But once the books are readily available, we're going to be more aggressively pursuing interviewing with those folks.
I hope
And they should be available this week. I mean, within the next week or so,
Right,
right?
right.
I certainly hope that McCormick did not promise you Leno or right away.
I know, yes.
We did not.
Yeah,
We did not. We actually, I stepped way over the line and promised the Eric Smith show, starring people in politics, as an opportunity for him, and we're going to be doing other cable programming and other. We've done X number of other shows, and he'll be doing a lot of speaking around town as we start this marketing within our own community.
Well, you've brought me some great people, Allied veterans, and those guys that have helped us so much in this community. And I imagine Allied veterans, some of those guys would be interested in taking a peek at this book, because they represent people who have fought for democracy and given their honor in their lives and suffered, and they're people that remember that there is a price, if you will, Doctor, on democracy. Is that something you want to show there?
It is. I was going to show that for the younger kids, there's also some there'll be peel and stick stickies available in the book, and it's one of the things that kids enjoy playing with and utilizing a great deal today. So that will also be a portion of the book. And we wanted to mention that a couple of the audiences that we're working very closely with are homeschooling programs around Florida and around the southeastern United States, hopefully eventually nationally. We're working with charter schools and private schools. It's probably a difficult sell for public schooling because of regulatory and what could be interpreted as possibly inflammatory language about freedom, which of course anything said should never be considered inflammatory when you're discussing the opportunities for maintaining freedom. But it's going to be available again starting in about 10 days. We are so excited about kind of being here early to kind of break this to the community, and then it will be going nationally and regionally, we hope, with it by the first of the year.
And I'm so excited about the way that this has turned out, and it's such a valuable message for so many people. I really and truly think that people will love it. I think it's going to be kind of like 'Twas the Night Before Christmas of freedom books for kids. I can't strongly recommend it enough. Even though I'm the author and I'm biased, I really think it's a fantastic message.
And again, that's freedomfairytale.com, freedomfairytale.com. And
lastly, it would make a wonderful Christmas gift for parents and grandparents to give to their children. Amen.
Excellent. Dr. Rossi, thanks for being with us.